It's yeah, I love talking to guys who played the perimeter about guys on the perimeter because you're out there, you guys study each other. Corners study, other corners, but corners study receivers. Receivers study corners. I caught up with Rock Sin yesterday in the locker room. I'm going to put that out. I think my son might have already put it out on my YouTube channel. I'm going to play it later on this morning on KMBR. I just love the conversation we had about just me giving him names and him throwing it out. And I'm going to do the same thing right here with you because you're a former NFL DB. So let's go through some of these guys on the perimeter, and I'll give you the name. You just tell me what comes to mind. Renardo Green. Renardo Green is just playing incredibly well right now. Croc, what do you see with Green?
Fluid, scrappy. This is a guy I think he has really good feet. Obviously, he doesn't have the best top end speed, but definitely watching how he runs with receivers, he's not somebody that's worried about his speed at all. And he runs well, but he's not like a blazer. A lot of guys that are taken at the top of drafts, you see running, low 4.4s at the cornerback position. He's not one of those guys, but he does a terrific job of really relying on his technique. He like the scouting report said, and what a lot of us saw coming out of college, he's more comfortable and pressed than he is playing off. But you're seeing him each week get a little bit more comfortable with everything that they're asking him to do with squeezing routes. And we're talking about this Seahawks game. You go to week one, his ability to really undercut a route. He forced an interception. Everybody's talking about it was Nick Bosa on that first pick where Mustafa picked it off. But really, it was Renardo Green. The positioning that he had on the
Yep.
receiver forced Geno Smith to try to make a perfect throw right over the top. That ball sailed on Geno just a little bit, and it was enough for Mustafa to get the pick. But that wouldn't have happened without the undercut of Renardo Green. And then we saw him later in the game have a nice interception in a clutch position for the 49ers, being able to undercut a route. And all I see week in and week out is him really competing. And that's all I ask of defensive backs. It's the toughest position to play on the field outside of quarterback from a mental standpoint. And, you know, you see some guys that play things soft and they'll give up everything underneath. I'm looking for guys who are going to be there to compete at the catch point and be competitive. And I think he's been just that week in and week out.
Yeah, to me, the word is competitive. This
Yeah.
guy is serious. Some corners talk a big game, but every corner who's worth his weight in anything is confident, whether you talk or whether you're quiet. This guy's quiet, but he is confident. He is confident that he can do the job. All right, let's talk about the money man, $92 million Demo Lenoir. What do you see with Demo?
Oh, I love Diamador Lenoir. This is a guy I understood what he was coming out of college. I actually did like a whole film breakdown on him uh when he was coming out, not even as a 49er yet. And once I saw him with the 49ers, I'm like, man, I think he's a guy that profiles more as a nickel. Like watching him, I thought he, again, another guy. You got to remember what these 49ers are drafting these defensive backs. They're typically not, top 15 picks where they just have everything. So you're going to start to lose a little something, whether it's size, whether it's speed. And he was a guy who, he wasn't a low 4.4 guy. When I watched that first preseason game of him against Kansas City, he was able to run vertical with guys, wasn't quite getting his head around. I'm like, man, is he not getting his head around because he's just half a step not as fast to be able to consistently get his head around downfield? And I'm like, he might profile better as just a legit nickel. And I think we've seen not only can he play outside and do very well there, but he's making his money because he is a terrific nickel. He challenges guys. He has a really good mental aspect to the game. A lot of interceptions we've seen, especially that one against the Dallas Cowboys, drifting underneath the corner route by CD Lamb. I mean, he's done a really terrific job. So I've loved everything about him and his mindset that he has. He believes in himself. And as a cornerback, you definitely have to have that belief.
How about Mooney? Mooney obviously going through a tragedy with his young daughter, and I don't know if he's going to play this weekend. But I asked Rock Sin about Mooney, and he's like, man, he's got all the traits of a true number one. He said he blankets guys, and he said guys really are intimidated by the physicality and the size and strength of Charvarius. What do you see, Croc?
First, I want to say, prayers up to him. As
Yeah,
someone who
yeah,
has daughters, I got two girls, I got two boys, and losing a child. I mean, I don't want to go. I want to go before my kids. I don't want any of my kids to go before me. So that's just a
totally.
tragedy in itself. But as far as him on the field, Mooney's someone who I feel like is, you know, playing press alignment, right? You go back, you watch his film against Kansas City, you break down his film. They had him shadowing wide receiver once, followed this guy around. He was very comfortable playing at the line of scrimmage. The 49ers asked him to play off a lot. And I think when people talk about, oh, he's kind of lost it a little bit, Mooney, potentially replacing him and whatnot, I don't think you should do that. I just think they should have him playing at the line of scrimmage more. I don't think he's ever been a great turn and run guy. He clearly has a great grasp on the scheme and system and what they're asking of him to do. But I love him most at the line of scrimmage, get physical with guys. We watched him shadow DK Metcalf. If he was playing in this game, you go wherever DK is going, and he makes life difficult on DK. We've seen those guys battle it out. I love him. I love the way he competes as well. I think the 49ers have really surrounded themselves on that back end with guys that maybe aren't high draft picks. He was a guy that was undrafted, but definitely has specific capabilities that make it difficult on receivers. And Charvarius Ward, he's definitely one of them.
The one I'm really eager to get your thoughts on is this next one, Darrell Luter. Great kid, very mature, married with a young daughter. Played nothing but press man at South Alabama. So he's got a lot of press man experience. He hasn't played a lot of off coverage. He's gotten burned on some high profile special teams errors. But I love this kid's build, makeup. I think the future is bright. What do you see with Luter? I know we haven't seen a lot of them, so it's kind of hard to say exactly. But what have you seen thus far?
Luter, and he was definitely sold as someone that was a great press man corner coming out of South Alabama. But when I watched his film, he was one of the best off coverage catch technique guys that I've ever seen at the cornerback position.
Really?
He was very comfortable. He was very patient, and he stayed square. Now, they were playing man. He was able to reroute a guy and then run with him, but he was comfortable at doing that. But when you go to the 49ers, they're not asking you to be off coverage, play catch. They're asking you from off coverage, be able to pedal, turn and run. And that might be something that he needed to improve on. Definitely got to play at the line of scrimmage. Where he's at right now with the 49ers, he is a special teams guy. Why didn't Eric Crocker make it at the NFL level? I was not good on special teams. It wasn't that I couldn't cover guys, but when it came to special teams, for whatever reason, I tried hard. I just wasn't very good. So it's like, all right, you're going to have to go to the CFL or back to the Arena Football League, right? Just wasn't a guy who was going to make it. Right now, for Darrell Luter, he is a special teams guy for the 49ers, and there's been some special teams gaps on him, whether he's allowing guys to get past him as a gunner. We've seen him not clear the way when a returner is trying to catch the punt return and he's getting pushed into him. There has to be a little bit more self-awareness or situational awareness with Darrell Luter on special teams right now, because if he can't figure that out, he is not going to have a role on this 49ers team. They're not bringing him in to cover guys. I think I saw it like once last season where he was in to, play some coverage. He is a special teams guy right now. And there are a lot of guys that make a living in the NFL off of being a good special teamer. Right now, he's got to figure it out. So earlier today, I talked about maybe a guy that someone else wants to get out of there, but this other coach likes the guy, so he's in there. I was really specifically talking about Darrell Luter.
He's got a world of talent, but you're right. If his job today is special teams, he's got to focus on the job that he's doing today and perfect.
But right now, real quick, we're killing Jacob Cowing, but like this returner, the protector gets shoved right into your lap when you're trying to catch a punt return. It's like it's tough.
Yeah. Oh no, I mean it's a tough enough job without that happening. All right, let's talk about let's flip it and talk about a couple of the receivers. Give me your thoughts on Pearsall. What do you think of the rookie from Florida?
I was surprised when the 49ers shoved out that much money to Brandon Ayuk, because when I think of the 49ers offense, I don't think of an offense, at least in the passing game, especially the vertical passing game. I don't look at them as a team that is going to really, I don't want to say force feed a guy, but feature a one receiver in the passing game. There's different ways they look to get the ball in Deebo Samuel's hands, and I think those things are definitely featured or packaged as part of the game plan. But when it comes to what Brandon Ayuk did, not saying that another guy would do it as well as Brandon Ayuk, but I did think that position was a little bit more plug and play. And when I look at Pearsall, I think he's been able to kind of step in, and he's still finding his way. There's a lot of the mental aspect of it. You got to run routes a very specific way for Kyle Shanahan. He has to trust guys 100%. But I think with what they are asking him to do, he's able to plug in, play, kind of get into those areas And now he has to just continue to really get comfortable with the speed of the game at the NFL level. Free himself up a little bit more. And man, we know versus zone, Kyle Shanahan's going to set you up for catch and run opportunities. But versus man coverage, can you separate at the top of routes? There's been a couple of times where they've had some opportunities, they've thrown to him and he didn't quite get it. But I think learning the speed of the game and how he has to win at the next level, because the way that he has to win will be different than the way that Debo has to win. It might be different than the way that Brandon Ayuk has to win, or Jawan Jennings. Learn how you have to win at the speed of the NFL level. I think he's still figuring that out, but I think he's a guy that's definitely coming on and has a lot of ability.